You ever look at your bank account at the end of the month and just wonder where it all went? Like you made money, you know you did, the paycheck hit, but somehow it just evaporated into thin air. Rent, groceries, that subscription you forgot to cancel, dinner with friends, coffee, always coffee, and suddenly you're sitting there thinking, I'm supposed to be saving for early retirement with this? My name is Robert, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to build wealth almost effortlessly, while others work just as hard, earn just as much, and somehow stay trapped in this cycle of living paycheck to paycheck with nothing meaningful to show for it. And here's what I've realized. Early retirement isn't actually about making more money. I mean, sure, that helps, obviously, but it's not the main thing. The main thing is this one monthly habit that most people completely overlook because it seems too simple, too boring, too unsexy, I guess. But the people who retire early, they do this religiously, every single month, without fail. And honestly, once you understand why it works and you start doing it yourself, it changes everything about how you relate to money. So stick with me here because what I'm about to share might sound straightforward, but the deeper psychology behind it and the way it compounds over time, that's where the real magic happens. All right, so let's start with the thing nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. You cannot retire early if you don't know where your money is going. I know. Tracking expenses sounds about as exciting as watching paint dry, but here's the thing. This isn't about obsessively logging every dollar like some kind of financial monk. It's about creating what I call a monthly money meeting with yourself. Once a month, you sit down, you pull up your bank statements, your credit card statements, maybe a spreadsheet if you're fancy, and you just look. You look at what came in and what went out. You categorize it. You notice patterns. And this is where it gets interesting, because our brains are terrible at estimating spending, like genuinely awful. You think you spent maybe $100 on eating out last month, but then you actually add it up and it's 300. Or you think you're being frugal, but then you realize you're hemorrhaging money on convenience purchases, Uber Eats, impulse Amazon orders, that thing you bought at 2 a.m. because the algorithm knew exactly what you wanted to see. The monthly money meeting forces you to confront reality. And I'm not saying this in a shameful way. I'm saying it in a liberating way. Because once you see it, you can change it. You can't fix what you don't measure. I remember when I first started doing this, probably about 7 years ago now, and I was shocked at how much I was spending on things that genuinely didn't matter to me. Like, I found out I was spending almost $200 a month on subscriptions, streaming services, a gym membership I hadn't used in 4 months, some app I'd signed up for during a free trial and completely forgotten about. None of these things were making my life better. They were just there, quietly draining my potential for early retirement. So the first part of this monthly habit is awareness, brutal, honest awareness. But here's where most people stop, and here's where the people who actually retire early keep going. After you've tracked everything, you adjust. You make one or two intentional changes based on what you learned. Not a massive overhaul where you suddenly decide you're never eating out again and you're going to meal prep every single meal like some kind of Instagram fitness influencer. That never works. You burn out in 3 weeks and then you're back where you started, except now you also feel like a failure. No. What works is small, targeted adjustments. You look at your spending and you ask yourself, what here didn't bring me joy, value, or progress towards my goals? And then you cut that thing. Maybe it's downgrading your car. Maybe it's cooking at home 2 extra times a week. Maybe it's finally canceling that subscription box you forgot existed. And then, and this is crucial, you immediately redirect that money towards your early retirement goal. You don't let it just float around in your checking account waiting to get absorbed by lifestyle creep. You automate it. You set up an automatic transfer to your investment account, your Roth IRA, your index funds, whatever your vehicle is. The money leaves your account on the same day every month, like clockwork, before you even have a chance to think about it. Because here's the psychological trick that early retirees understand. It's not about willpower. Willpower is exhausting. Willpower fails when you're tired or stressed or it's been a long day. Automation removes willpower from the equation entirely. The decision is already made. The system is already in motion. You just have to set it up once and let it run. Now, let's talk about the power of the gap. And by gap, I mean the space between what you earn and what you spend. Most people focus entirely on the earning side. If I just made $10,000 more a year, then I could save. But they never actually examine the spending side. So they get the raise and mysteriously their expenses rise to match it. New apartment, nicer car, fancier dinners. The gap stays the same. Or sometimes it even shrinks because now they feel like they deserve to spend more. Early retirees obsess over widening the gap. And the monthly money meeting is where you measure it. Every month you're calculating, what's my savings rate this month? Did I save 20% of my income, 30%, 50%? And you're trying to gradually, sustainably increase it over time. There's this concept in the FIRE community, financial independence, early retire, where they talk about how your savings rate is basically the only number that matters because it determines how long you have to work. If you save 10% of your income, you're looking at working for like 40 years. If you save 50%, you can retire in about 17 years. The math is pretty wild when you actually sit down and run the numbers. But you can't improve what you don't measure. And the monthly money meeting is where you measure it. It's where you hold yourself accountable. It's where you celebrate when you hit a new savings rate milestone. And it's where you troubleshoot when things go off track.
Here's another thing that happens during these monthly meetings that people don't expect. You start to notice your emotional relationship with money. You start to see patterns in your behavior. Like maybe you notice that you overspend every time you're stressed at work. Or maybe you realize you make impulse purchases when you're bored or lonely. Or maybe you see that you're actually really good at saving during certain months, but terrible during others, and you start to figure out why. This self-awareness is incredibly valuable because once you understand your triggers, you can create strategies around them. If you know you overspend when stressed, you can build in healthier coping mechanisms, going for a walk, calling a friend, whatever works for you. If you know you impulse buy when bored, you can delete shopping apps from your phone or institute a 48-hour rule before any non-essential purchase. The monthly money meeting becomes this practice of self-reflection. It's almost meditative in a way if you approach it with curiosity instead of judgment. You're not beating yourself up for mistakes. You're just noticing, learning, adjusting. And here's something I think is really important to say. This habit works regardless of your income level. I've seen people making $40,000 a year retire early because they were incredibly intentional with their spending and saved aggressively. And I've seen people making $200,000 a year who will never retire early because they have no idea where their money goes and they've inflated their lifestyle to match their income. The monthly money meeting is the great equalizer. It doesn't care how much you make. It only cares about the gap between what you make and what you spend and what you do with that gap. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everyone can retire early. There are real systemic barriers. There's income inequality, there's medical debt, there's taking care of family members. There are situations where people are doing everything right and it's still incredibly hard. I get that. But for the people who do have some wiggle room in their budget, even just a little, this monthly habit is the difference between hoping for early retirement someday and actually making it happen. Let me give you a practical example of what this looks like in action. Let's say you do your monthly money meeting and you realized you spent $400 on dining out last month. You think about it and realize that honestly, half of those meals were just fine. Not special, not memorable, just convenient. So you decide, next month, I'm going to cut that in half. I'm going to be more intentional. I'm going to save the dining out for meals that actually matter. Birthdays, catching up with old friends, trying that new restaurant I've been excited about. The other meals, I'll cook at home or meal prep. That's $200 saved. You immediately set up an automatic transfer of $200 to your investment account on the first of every month. Over a year, that's $2,400. Over 10 years, assuming a 7% average return, that's over $35,000. Over 20 years, over $100,000 from one small adjustment, from one monthly habit. And the thing is, you're not going to make just one adjustment. Every month, you're going to find something, some little optimization, some small behavior change. And they compound, not just financially, but psychologically. You start to feel more in control, more intentional, more confident about your financial future. So, here's what I want you to do. I want you to schedule your first monthly money meeting right now. Like literally pull out your calendar and block off an hour sometime in the next week. Make it non-negotiable. Treat it like a doctor's appointment. Then, when the time comes, sit down with your bank statements and just look. No judgment, no shame, just curiosity. Where did your money go last month? What patterns do you notice? What surprised you? What would you like to change? And then make one small adjustment, just one, and automate the savings from that adjustment. That's it. That's the habit. Do this every month, and I promise you, your relationship with money will transform. Your savings rate will climb, your financial confidence will grow, and early retirement will shift from this vague, distant dream into an actual, concrete plan with measurable progress. Because here's the truth that nobody wants to hear, but everybody needs to understand. Early retirement doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen because you got lucky or because you stumbled into wealth. It happens because you made small, consistent, intentional decisions every single month for years. It happens because you paid attention, because you measured, because you adjusted. The monthly money meeting is where all of that happens. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, it won't make for a good Instagram story, but it works. And the people who retire early, they do this every single month, without fail. So, the question is, will you?